She undressed for a checkup only to see the billionaire doctor was her long-lost fiancé. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. Imagine this. You walk into a doctor's office for a routine checkup, expecting nothing out of the ordinary. But what happens next will change everything. She undressed for a simple medical exam, only to realize that the man she thought was just a doctor was, in fact, her long-lost fiancé, who had become a billionaire. How could this be? And what will happen next? Stay tuned to find out. Emma's mind raced as Liam stood before her, the man she thought she had lost forever. She tried to process everything he had just said, but the words felt like they were being swallowed by the noise in her head. How could this be? The man she had once loved, the man who had disappeared from her life without a trace, was now standing in front of her taller, more polished, and with a life that was completely unrecognizable. Her fiancé, Liam Carter, now a wealthy, successful doctor. The shock of it all was almost too much to bear. She swallowed hard, trying to steady her breathing as he stood there, waiting for her reaction. Emma stood by the window, her arms crossed tightly across her chest, her mind still reeling from the whirlwind of emotions Liam had stirred in her. His words echoed in her ears. I want to make things right. But how could she trust him again after everything that had happened? How could she believe in him after years of silence, years of wondering where he had gone, why he had left without so much as a goodbye? Her heart wanted to believe him, but her mind, the part of her that had learned to survive without him, was screaming at her to be cautious, to protect herself. She felt torn, standing on the edge of something she wasn't sure she was ready to face again. Liam had always been the love of her life, the one she thought she would spend forever with, but forever had been stolen from her. The life she had built without him had been hard, but it had been hers. And now, he was back, asking for a second chance. But could she risk it? Could she risk her heart once more? Liam stood a few steps behind her, his eyes never leaving her form as she gazed out over the city, her face a mask of contemplation. He didn't speak right away, knowing the weight of the silence was too heavy to break with anything other than the truth. He could feel her hesitation, her doubts, and they pierced him more than he wanted to admit. He had made so many mistakes, but standing here now, seeing her again, he couldn't help but feel a sense of urgency, a feeling that if he didn't try to make things right, he would lose her forever. He had already lost her once, and he wasn't willing to let that happen again. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Emma turned slowly, her eyes locking with his. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out at first. Her emotions were too tangled to unravel. She had so many questions, so many things she wanted to say, but she didn't know where to start. Liam, she began, her voice trembling slightly. How could you just disappear? How could you leave me like that without a word? I waited for so long. Her voice broke as the weight of the past settled in her chest, and the tears she had been holding back finally fell, the dam she had built around her emotions crumbling. I thought I would never see you again. And now, here you are, with all of this. She gestured to the fancy office, the pristine environment, the success he had built while she had struggled to survive. How am I supposed to just forget everything? How do I just pick up where we left off, when everything is different now? Liam took a step toward her, his heart aching as he saw the tears in her eyes. He couldn't blame her for feeling hurt, for feeling abandoned, because he had done exactly that. He had disappeared without a word, and for all his success, nothing in his life mattered if he couldn't fix the damage he had caused her. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, Emma, he said softly, his voice full of regret. But I swear, I never wanted to hurt you. I was lost, and I made the worst decisions of my life. I wasn't the man I should have been. I should have come back. I should have fought for you, but instead, I let fear and pride control me. And now, I'm asking you, please, to give me a chance to make it right. Emma's chest tightened as she listened to him, his words cutting through the wall she had built around her heart. She had spent so many years trying to move on, trying to heal, but it was so hard to ignore the love that still lingered. He was asking her for another chance, but could she give it to him? Could she trust him again after everything? I don't know if I can, Liam, she whispered, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. "I don't know if I can ever trust you the way I did before. You broke my heart, and I don't know if it's something I can fix." Liam's heart clenched, and for the first time in a long while, he felt vulnerable. He had built an empire. He had everything a man could want. But the one thing that mattered most to him, the one thing he had lost, was the woman standing in front of him. "I'm not asking you to trust me right away," he said, taking another step closer. "I'm asking you to give me the chance to earn that trust back. I'm asking you to let me prove to you that I can be the man you deserve." Emma looked at him, her eyes searching his face for anything that would tell her he was being honest, that he truly meant what he was saying. But all she saw was sincerity, a vulnerability she hadn't seen in him before. Maybe it was the man he had become, or maybe it was the man he was still trying to be, but something in her heart told her that this wasn't the same Liam she had lost all those years ago. She took a deep breath, her mind still racing, and made a decision. "I can't promise that I'll trust you right away," she said quietly, her voice steadying, "but I'm willing to try. I'm willing to see where this goes. But you have to understand, Liam, it won't be easy. I need time. Time to heal, time to forgive." Liam nodded, his face softening as he saw the flicker of hope in her eyes. "I understand, Emma," he said, his voice low. "And I'll be patient. I'll wait as long as it takes. I'll do whatever it takes to make things right." They stood there, looking at each other, the weight of the past between them, but also the possibility of a future. It wasn't going to be easy, but for the first time in years, Emma felt like she was ready to take the first step toward healing. She didn't know where this would lead, but for the first time in a long while, she wasn't afraid to find out. It had been 2 weeks since Emma had agreed to give Liam a chance, 2 weeks since she had allowed herself to hope again. The walls around her heart were still high, still thick with the pain of the past, but she couldn't deny that something had shifted. Liam was really trying to prove that he was the man she once knew, and maybe even someone better. He was patient, understanding, and he never once pushed her to move faster than she was ready for. Every day, he called to check in, sending little texts, each one more thoughtful than the last. He invited her to dinners, to art galleries, to places that made her feel like her old self again, the person she had almost forgotten. Yet every time she started to feel something, to open up, the doubts crept in. Could she really forgive him? Could she trust him again? Or was this just a fleeting moment of hope, one that would fade as quickly as it had appeared? But that evening, everything changed. She had agreed to meet Liam at a charity event, a gala that he had invited her to attend with him. It was his world, the world of polished suits, luxury, and high society. A world Emma had never truly felt a part of. She had hesitated before agreeing, but something in Liam's invitation, in his tone, had made her say yes. Maybe it was the way he had looked at her the night before, his eyes full of warmth and sincerity, like he was asking for one more chance, one more opportunity to make things right. And so, she found herself walking into a grand ballroom, the sounds of laughter and soft music filling the air. The room was filled with people she didn't know, faces she couldn't recognize, but the one person she sought out in the crowd was Liam. He was standing near the front, talking to a group of other professionals, his suit sharp, his demeanor confident. Yet when he saw her, his face lit up in a way that made her heart skip a beat. His eyes softened, and for a moment, everything else in the room disappeared. "Emma," he said, walking toward her, his smile bright. "You made it." His voice was warm, and there was something in it that made her feel safe, like she belonged there, with him. "Of course," she replied, trying to hide the flutter of nerves that suddenly stirred inside her. She had never been in a setting like this, where everyone seemed so put together, so wealthy. But Liam was here, and for some reason, being with him made her feel like she could face it all. "You look amazing," Liam said, his eyes scanning her outfit, lingering on the way the soft silk dress she wore complemented her figure. Emma felt a blush creep up her cheeks at the compliment. She wasn't used to receiving such attention, especially not from someone like Liam. "Thank you," she said quietly, looking down at her hands, suddenly feeling out of place in the sea of glitzy attire. Liam reached for her hand, gently taking it in his, as if grounding her in the moment. "Don't worry," he said softly. "You belong here as much as anyone else." He led her through the crowd, introducing her to a few of his colleagues, some of whom she recognized as prominent figures in the medical field. Emma could feel the weight of their stares, their judgment, but Liam was always by her side, his presence a shield against any discomfort. As the evening went on, They sat at a table together, surrounded by people who spoke of business deals, investments, and charity work. But all Emma could focus on was Liam. He was different now, more confident, more secure, but there was still that warmth in him, the same warmth she had fallen in love with years ago. As they shared a quiet conversation over dessert, Emma finally let her guard down. "I didn't expect all of this," she admitted, her voice low. "I feel like I'm in a different world." Liam smiled, a soft, understanding smile. "It's not so different from the world you're in," he said, his eyes meeting hers. "This is just the version I'm living in right now. But I'm still the same person, Emma. I always will be." The sincerity in his words, the way he looked at her, made her heart ache. He was still the man she had once known, still the man she had loved, and yet he was so much more now. For the first time in a long while, Emma allowed herself to believe that maybe they could have a future together. Maybe they could rebuild what they had lost. But just as the thought crossed her mind, she felt a pang of doubt. She wasn't sure she was ready to fully let go of the past, to trust him completely. But in that moment, she realized something. Maybe that was okay. Maybe the future didn't have to be perfect. Maybe it just had to be real. And if there was one thing she knew for certain, it was that the connection between them was still there. It was still strong, still alive, and it wasn't something she was willing to give up just yet. Liam reached across the table, gently taking her hand in his. "I know it's not easy," he said quietly, "and I'm not asking you to rush. But I want you to know that I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. I want us to take this one step at a time, together." Emma looked down at their joined hands, feeling the warmth of his touch. It felt like a promise she wasn't ready to break. Maybe, just maybe, they could make this work. And for the first time in years, she felt a glimmer of hope for the future. As the weeks passed, Emma found herself growing more comfortable in Liam's world, but the feeling of unease never fully left her. Each time they spent time together, he proved to her that he was sincere, kind, thoughtful, and patient, but she still couldn't shake the fear that she might be setting herself up for more heartbreak. Liam, for his part, continued to give her space when she needed it, always showing up when he promised, always making her feel valued, but never pushing her too hard. He was different from the man she had once known, the man who had disappeared without a trace, but a part of her still wondered if this was real, or if it was all just an illusion. One evening, Liam invited her to his penthouse for dinner. It was their first night together, just the two of them, no distractions, no events, no social obligations. He promised her a quiet evening, one where they could just talk, enjoy each other's company, and forget about the outside world for a while. Emma had agreed, but the nerves were still there. As she stood in front of his apartment, waiting for the elevator to take her up, she couldn't help but wonder what this would mean for her future. Would she be able to trust him again? Was she ready to give him her heart, knowing the risk of it being shattered again? The elevator doors opened, and she stepped inside, the soft hum of the machinery surrounding her as she pressed the button for the top floor. Her thoughts were swirling in a whirlwind of doubt and hope, and she couldn't silence them. The moment the elevator doors opened on the top floor, she was met with a breathtaking view of the city skyline. Liam's penthouse was everything she had imagined, elegant, sophisticated, and incredibly luxurious. But as she stepped inside, she quickly realized that it wasn't the furniture or the decor that made the place feel special. It was the man standing in the doorway, smiling at her with a warmth that made her heart flutter. "You made it," he said, stepping aside to let her in. "I've been looking forward to this." Emma smiled, trying to hide the nervousness she still felt. But when she looked into his eyes, she couldn't help but feel like everything would be okay. The way he looked at her, it was the same look he had given her all those years ago, the one that had made her fall in love with him in the first place. She walked inside, and Liam immediately took her coat, hanging it up for her with a gesture so familiar, it sent a jolt of emotion through her. He was doing everything right, everything that had made her trust him once before, and yet she couldn't shake the fear that it might all fall apart. They sat down at the dining table, a simple, intimate setting with soft lighting and a delicious meal already prepared. It felt like the most perfect evening, but there was a weight in the air, a tension that neither of them had addressed yet. Liam seemed to sense it, because after they finished their meal, he set his fork down gently and looked at her, his expression soft but serious. "Emma, I know it's been hard for you," he began, his voice low, his gaze never leaving hers. "I know I've hurt you, and I know that what I did can't be undone. But I need you to know that I'm not here to rush you, and I'm not here to pressure you into anything. I'm here because I want to build something with you, something real, something that lasts. I want to make up for the mistakes I made, and I want to prove to you that I can be the man you deserve." Emma looked at him, her chest tightening as she listened to his words. The sincerity in his voice made her heart ache, and for a moment, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, they could rebuild what they had lost. But the doubt was still there, lurking in the back of her mind, telling her that trusting him again might not be the right choice. "I'm scared, Liam," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I'm scared of getting hurt again. I don't know if I can trust you the way I did before. I don't know if I can take that leap." Liam reached across the table, gently taking her hand in his. His touch was warm, reassuring, and for a moment, Emma let herself feel the comfort of it. "I know it's not easy," he said softly, "and I'm not asking you to trust me right away. I'm asking for your patience, your understanding, and most importantly, your willingness to try. I'm willing to wait as long as it takes, Emma. I just need you to give me the chance to prove that I'm worthy of your love again." Emma felt her breath catch in her throat. She wanted to believe him, wanted to take the leap and trust that he had truly changed. She had never stopped loving him, not really, but the fear of getting hurt again was overwhelming. Still, as she looked into his eyes, she realized that maybe this was the moment she had been waiting for, when she would have to choose whether to hold on to the past or take a chance on the future. And for the first time in a long while, she felt ready to take that chance. She squeezed his hand, her heart pounding in her chest. "Okay," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I'll try. But you have to promise me that you won't leave again, that you'll be here for the long haul." Liam's smile broke through the tension in the room, his eyes lighting up with hope. "I promise," he said softly. "I'll be here, Emma. I'm not going anywhere." And in that moment, Emma knew that they were both ready to take the next step. Whatever the future held, they would face it together. As the days passed, Emma found herself slowly opening up to Liam once again, each moment feeling like both a victory and a battle. She still had moments of doubt, moments where the fear of being hurt again would wash over her, but she was trying. She was trying to let go of the past, to trust him again, to allow herself the possibility of a future with him. Liam, for his part, had been nothing but patient, supportive, and kind. He gave her the space she needed, but he was always there when she reached out, always ready to listen, always ready to reassure her. It wasn't easy, and they both knew that rebuilding their relationship wouldn't happen overnight, but they were taking it one step at a time. One evening, Liam invited her to a small, quiet gathering at his apartment, just a few close friends, no formal event, no distractions. He wanted to show her a different side of his life, one where he wasn't just the successful doctor or the businessman, but someone who could enjoy the simple things, someone who still had a sense of humor, someone who could be vulnerable. As she arrived at his place, Emma felt a nervous excitement flutter in her chest. She had never been to his apartment before, and as much as she wanted to be part of his world, she also felt the weight of their past hanging between them. The moment she stepped inside, though, her nerves began to ease. The space was warm and inviting, with soft lighting and a cozy atmosphere. There were a few people already there, chatting and laughing, but Liam's presence instantly put her at ease. He greeted her with a smile that made her heart flutter, and she knew, in that moment, that this was the man she had fallen in love with all those years ago. He wasn't perfect, and their relationship was still a work in progress, but the connection between them was undeniable. "I'm glad you came," Liam said, his voice low and sincere. "I know things have been a little tense, but I just wanted to show you that we can still have fun, that we can still enjoy each other's company without all the pressure." Emma smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her. "I'm glad I came too," she said, her voice soft. "I think I needed this to see you in a different light, to remember the man I fell in love with." Liam's eyes softened as he looked at her, his gaze full of understanding and gratitude. He took her hand gently, leading her to a quiet corner of the apartment where they could talk without the noise of the party in the background. As they sat down together, Emma felt a sense of peace wash over her. It wasn't perfect, and there were still things they needed to work through, but in that moment, everything felt right. They talked about their past, their hopes for the future, and the challenges they had faced. Emma listened to Liam's words, his honesty, his vulnerability, and she realized that she had never truly let him go. She had held on to the idea of him, the memory of the man he used to be. But she hadn't allowed herself to see him as the man he was now. The man who was willing to fight for her, willing to fight for them. "I know I've hurt you, Emma," Liam said quietly, his voice full of regret. "And I know that I can't change the past. But I want you to know that I will never make that mistake again. I will never let you go without a fight. You mean everything to me, and I'm not going to give up on us." Emma looked into his eyes, and for the first time in a long while, she believed him. She saw the sincerity in his gaze, the determination to make things right, and she realized that maybe, just maybe, they could have the future they had once dreamed of. "I'm not sure what the future holds," she said softly, her voice full of emotion. "But I'm willing to try again. I'm willing to take the risk, to trust you." Liam's face lit up with a smile. And for a moment, Emma saw the same man she had fallen in love with all those years ago, the man who had promised her forever. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for giving me a second chance." Emma smiled, her heart full of hope. "We'll take it one step at a time," she said softly. "But I'm ready to try." And for the first time in years, they both felt like they were on the same path, walking toward a future filled with love, trust, and the promise of new beginnings. It wouldn't be easy, and there would be challenges ahead, but they were willing to face them together, hand in hand. The road to healing wasn't always smooth, but with each step, they were getting closer to the life they had both dreamed of together. The following weeks were a whirlwind for Emma and Liam, but something was shifting in the way they were moving forward. Emma still carried some scars from their past, but with each passing day, she felt the weight of those scars grow a little lighter. Liam had been nothing short of patient, understanding, and, most importantly, consistent. He didn't rush her into anything, didn't pressure her to be the woman she was before, and in turn, Emma started to let herself be that person again, someone who could love fully, without fear. She knew there would still be moments of doubt, moments where the past might try to creep back in, but with Liam by her side, she felt more confident in their path forward. One evening, Liam invited her to a private event, a fundraiser for a cause close to his heart. He had told her about it in passing before, but now, as the event approached, he was insistent that she attend with him. Emma was hesitant at first. She had never been to such an event before, and the idea of being surrounded by influential people in an unfamiliar setting made her feel uneasy. But this was Liam's world, the world he had built, and for once, she wanted to be part of it. She wanted to be part of his life, just as he was now part of hers. So, she agreed. The night of the fundraiser, Emma stood in front of her mirror, her heart racing. The dress she had chosen was elegant, a deep navy blue that complemented her features. She had never felt more unsure of herself, but when she thought of Liam's hand, gently taking hers in his, she found the strength to move forward. When she arrived at the venue, her nerves only intensified. The grand ballroom gleamed with golden chandeliers, and the crowd was made up of some of the city's wealthiest and most influential figures. Emma felt small in comparison, but she wasn't here to compare herself to anyone. She was here to stand beside Liam, to support him as he had supported her. As soon as she entered, Liam spotted her across the room and made his way toward her. His eyes lit up the moment he saw her, and he immediately took her hand in his, guiding her through the crowd with ease. "You look stunning," he whispered in her ear, his voice low and full of admiration. Emma smiled nervously, glancing around the room at the faces she didn't recognize. "This place is huge," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Liam gave her hand a reassuring squeeze. "It's not so intimidating when you're with me." He smiled and led her to a table at the center of the room, where a few of his colleagues were already seated. As they sat down, Emma couldn't help but notice the way Liam commanded the room. His presence was powerful, yet calm, as he conversed with ease, making those around him feel at ease. She had always admired him, but tonight, seeing him in this setting, she felt a new kind of respect for him. He had worked hard for everything he had, and yet, he remained humble, approachable, and kind. Throughout the evening, Emma found herself enjoying the conversation, the atmosphere, and most importantly, the sense of belonging she had with Liam. They were a team, and for the first time in a long time, Emma felt like they could face anything together. As the night wore on, Liam stood to speak to the crowd. Emma sat quietly at the table, watching him as he took the stage. He spoke with the same passion and conviction that had drawn her to him all those years ago, and as she watched him, she realized that she had never truly lost him. He was still the same man, only better. When the event came to an end, Liam took her aside, away from the hustle and bustle of the crowd. "I'm proud of you, Emma," he said, his voice sincere. "You handled yourself so well tonight. I know this world isn't easy to step into, but you did it with grace." Emma smiled, her heart full. "It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be," she admitted, laughing softly. "I think I was just nervous." Liam reached out, brushing a lock of hair behind her ear. "You don't need to be nervous with me, Emma. I'm here. We're in this together, no matter what." And in that moment, Emma realized just how far they had come. It wasn't perfect, nothing ever would be, but they were making it work. They were learning to trust again, to love again, and to fight for what mattered. As they walked out of the ballroom together, hand in hand, Emma couldn't help but feel a sense of peace settle over her. For the first time in a long while, she truly believed that everything would be okay. Liam had proven time and time again that he was willing to fight for her, for them, and Emma was ready to fight right alongside him. As time passed, Emma and Liam continued to navigate their relationship, each day strengthening the bond that had once been broken but was now being carefully rebuilt. Their trust, once shattered, was beginning to grow again, not in leaps, but in steady, deliberate steps. Emma was learning to trust him, learning to believe that he would never leave her again. But there were still moments, quiet ones, where the shadows of the past crept into her mind, reminding her of the pain she had once felt. Despite the healing that was taking place, she couldn't forget what had happened, and sometimes, that fear would rise again, the fear that he might slip away, that history might repeat itself. But Liam seemed to sense these moments of doubt, and he did everything he could to calm her fears. He would leave little notes for her, telling her how much he appreciated her, how much he loved her, and how grateful he was that they were giving their relationship another chance. There were mornings where he would surprise her with breakfast in bed, and evenings where they would talk for hours, just the two of them, about their past, their hopes for the future, and everything in between. It was in these quiet, intimate moments that Emma began to feel truly at peace with the idea of being with him again. He was here, he was present, and he was staying. It wasn't just about grand gestures or the luxury of his lifestyle, it was about the small, everyday things that showed her he cared, that he was committed to making it right. One evening, Liam invited her to a weekend getaway, a small cabin in the mountains, far from the city, where they could spend time alone, just the two of them. It was his way of showing her that their relationship didn't need to be surrounded by the noise of the world. They didn't need the glitz and glamour of the charity events or the fancy dinners, they just needed each other. Emma was hesitant at first, unsure if it was too soon, but Liam reassured her, telling her that he just wanted to give them the time and space to reconnect, away from everything. So, they packed their bags and drove to the cabin, nestled in a small valley, surrounded by towering pine trees. The moment they arrived, Emma felt a wave of calm wash over her. The air was crisp, the scent of pine filling her lungs, and the silence of the mountains was unlike anything she had ever experienced. It felt like a world apart from the busy city, a place where they could truly be themselves. They spent their days hiking through the forest, talking by the fireplace, and simply enjoying each other's company. It wasn't a whirlwind romance or a grand love story, it was something quieter, something deeper. As they sat by the fire one evening, Liam took her hand in his touch warm and comforting. "I know it hasn't been easy, Emma," he said softly, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I know I hurt you, and I know that it's going to take time to heal. But I need you to know that I'm not going anywhere. I'm here, and I will always be here. I want to spend the rest of my life proving to you that I can be the man you deserve, the man you always believed I could be." Emma felt her heart swell at his words, and for the first time in a long time, she believed him. She looked into his eyes, searching for any hint of doubt, but all she saw was sincerity. "I believe you," she whispered, her voice full of emotion. "I don't know what the future holds, but I'm willing to take that step with you. I'm willing to trust you again." Liam smiled, his eyes lighting up with a mixture of relief and happiness. "Thank you," he said softly. "I won't let you down, Emma. I promise you, I won't." They spent the rest of the weekend in peace, enjoying the simplicity of each other's company. There were no distractions, no outside pressures, just two people, learning to love again. When they returned to the city, Emma felt a sense of contentment that she hadn't felt in years. She knew there would still be challenges ahead, but for the first time in a long time, she was no longer afraid. She knew that, together, they could face whatever came their way. Liam had shown her that love could be rebuilt, that trust could be earned, and that second chances were worth fighting for. As they stood together, hand in hand, looking out at the city skyline, Emma realized that the future, no matter how uncertain, was something she was ready to face with Liam by her side. The days following their weekend getaway were filled with a new sense of peace and possibility. Emma had let go of much of the fear that had once held her back, and with each passing day, she found herself growing more and more comfortable in the life she was building with Liam. It wasn't perfect, but it felt real, more real than anything she had ever experienced. She had learned to trust again, not just in him, but in herself. She knew that the road ahead would have its challenges, but she also knew they could face anything together. As the weeks turned into months, Emma and Liam continued to grow stronger as a couple. They spent more time with each other, going on trips, attending events, and simply enjoying the little things, cooking dinner together, spending quiet nights in, and talking about their dreams for the future. Each moment was a reminder of how far they had come, how much they had healed, and how much they still had to look forward to. Then, one evening, as they were sitting on the couch together, Liam turned to Emma with a serious expression on his face. He took her hand in his touch warm and familiar. "Emma," he said, his voice low and steady, "there's something I've been meaning to ask you." Emma looked at him, her heart suddenly racing. "What is it?" she asked, her voice soft. Liam took a deep breath, his eyes locking with hers. "I want to spend the rest of my life with you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I know we've been through a lot, but I also know that you're the one I want by my side, now and forever. Will you marry me, Emma?" The words hit her like a wave, washing over her with a rush of emotions she hadn't anticipated. She hadn't seen this coming, but as soon as the question left his lips, she knew deep down that this was the next step for them. She looked into his eyes, searching for any doubt, any hesitation, but all she saw was sincerity and love. The same love that had brought them back together. The same love that had withstood the test of time and distance. For a moment, she was speechless. She had imagined this moment countless times over the years, but now, with him standing in front of her, it was more perfect than she could have ever imagined. She smiled, tears welling in her eyes, and nodded. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I will marry you." Liam's face lit up, a wide, genuine smile spreading across his face as he reached for her, pulling her into a tight embrace. "I promise you, Emma, I will never let you go again. You are my everything, and I will spend the rest of my life showing you how much I love you." Emma held him close, feeling the warmth of his embrace, knowing that this was the moment their story had been leading to. It had been a long road, full of twists and turns, but they had made it here, together. The love they had once lost had been found again, stronger than ever, and now, they were ready to face the future as a team. In the days that followed, they began planning their wedding, every detail a reflection of their journey, of the love they had rediscovered, and the life they had built together. They chose a small, intimate ceremony, surrounded by their closest friends and family, a celebration of their love and the life they had fought for. As the day of their wedding approached, Emma felt a sense of peace that she had never known before. She had found the love of her life, and despite the struggles they had faced, they were stronger for it. The future was no longer something to fear, but something to embrace. On their wedding day, as she stood at the altar, looking into Liam's eyes, Emma felt a surge of gratitude for everything that had led her here. She had been through so much, and yet, it had all been worth it. They had proven that love could be rebuilt, that second chances were possible, and that even in the darkest of times, there was always hope for a brighter tomorrow. As they exchanged vows, promising to love each other for better or for worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, Emma knew that this was just the beginning of their forever. They had fought for their love, and now they would spend the rest of their lives living it, together.